there's analytics everywhere, right? The bar charts and pie charts, maps, all of these types of things. Those things exist because they help you derive insights. Now, if AI can skip that step and just give you the insight and somehow allow you to trust that thing, then guess what? We don't need the analytics anymore. Dashboarding might be going away. Now, that's maybe scary for some people, but that could be a reality that we see soon. Of course, the trust piece of it is the big caveat there, because that's why you have this analytics still now. The role for analytics and dashboarding changes a bit to a supporting character where AI is giving you the insight, but then saying, hey, look at this dashboard. This is how we arrived at the answer.
Welcome to LaunchPod, the show from LogRocket, where we sit down with top product and digital leaders. From U.S. Army sniper to VP of product, Robert Henkhaus knows a thing or two about high-stakes decision-making. Today, he's a product leader at Enverus, the software platform guiding billions of dollars in global energy capital. Fresh off Enverus acquisition by Blackstone, Robert joins us to discuss how to innovate when the pressure's on. In this episode, we cover why black box AI fails, how Enverus builds trust with investment stakeholders by forcing AI to show its work on multi-million-dollar recommendations, the death of the dashboard, Robert's hot take on why AI will soon make traditional charts obsolete, and surviving acquisition, the 60-day horizon strategy Robert uses to keep team velocity high amidst private equity uncertainty. So here's our episode with Robert Henkhaus. All right, Robert, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got an interesting background here, right? For a start, you've been in the oil and gas industry since high school. You're a VP of product at Enverus now, but you spent time at everything from giant companies like ConocoPhillips to more kind of innovative companies like Petro AI. But all that kind of after a run in the Army as a sniper, I'm certain you have some slightly non-traditional learnings to bring to product from that. I guess let's just kick it off. And do you want to give a little insight into Enverus and what it is y'all do, and just also your background and how you kind of landed where you are now? Like, what's the 90-second TLDR on Robert Henkhaus here?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Midland, Texas, which, if you don't know, is basically the center of the universe for oil and gas in North America. I went to school for my bachelor's twice. First time for architecture. And I'll admit it, I did not value the education that I was there to get. And so I had it in me enough to say, you know what, I need to take a break a little bit. And so I went to the Army, became a sniper. I was a Boy Scout back in the day. And, you know, in the Army, I literally had a map taped to my leg for like 6 years out of the 8, and just really enjoyed, you know, geography and geoscience as an adjacent subject. And so that's what I ended up studying. Right out of school, I went to ConocoPhillips as a GIS analyst and developer. And I really enjoyed that. And I ended up in a space where I was developing applications as my own dev team. And I really enjoyed that, talking to what were my customers at the time, which are people at ConocoPhillips who just had urgent needs for these things. I actually really enjoyed that. So much so that I said, you know what, I need to do software full time. And so I moved from ConocoPhillips. I found a small startup that was basically pre-revenue called Petro AI. Did some really innovative data science stuff in the oil and gas space for about 2 years. And I did find that as we hired people, while I can code, I'm not a CS major. What I did find is I can talk to people, and I really enjoy developing solutions for people's, you know, pervasive, compelling, urgent problems. That's product management to a T, in my opinion. So that's where I kind of cut my teeth as a product manager. Eventually, I kind of graduated from Petro AI into a company at the time called Drilling Info, which then became Enverus. And Enverus is the most trusted energy dedicated SaaS company on the globe. And high level summary of what we do is we unify proprietary data analytics, software, research into a single decision platform built for energy professionals. It's not just oil and gas, but it's also solar and wind and, you know, renewables and power. And so transmission and all of those types of things. And so it's a really interesting company to be at. And I'm proud to represent Enverus daily. It's really rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, basically, it sounds like you guys give teams in multiple energy sectors the data to help them deploy millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in capital in very important decisions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. This could be, hey, I'm a wind farm developer and I am running a siting workflow in the application. I'm trying to determine what are the best places that are near areas where I can take the power that I've captured and put it into the grid. And I'm, you know, deploying tens of millions of dollars doing that. Or, hey, I'm doing some science because I'm drilling a bunch of wells and I'm spacing them this close and seeing this amount of output. But if I, increase that spacing in such a way and complete the wells in a different way, I may see a different output, maybe more capital efficient output.
And I think this is an interesting thing because it's not just getting it right? Like you can't just come in with a magic answer. You kind of need to be able to persuade people that you have the right answer and you have evidence. People are not just going to willy-nilly throw, tens of millions of dollars here and there just because like some black box SaaS solution says to. Do you focus on oil and gas, or do you focus on a specific area? What's kind of the area that your remit is in?
I support an application called Prism, which is one of the premier applications at Enverus. It is mostly oil and gas focused, although over the past few years have been getting into a lot of the more power and renewable workflows in the space. So it's a little bit of both. One of the really interesting things that AI is very good at that we've actually implemented, it's one of our more important models actually right now, is having AI explain the past, right? So all of these leases that an oil and gas operator might take or a renewable developer needs to take, all of these leases and land descriptions are from the 1800s or before in some cases. And it's all in cursive, hard to read, and they all have like weird directions on them and stuff. AI is very well positioned to take those, extract that data, and then put that into a format that's more modern that we can actually start making decisions against.
And so that's where this product Prism kind of sits, right? Is it's able to kind of give the insight of where and how you should deploy capital based on a lot of, I assume, some of that data there and also other data you can ingest around like ground scans and subterranean mapping and stuff, right? The thing I thought was the coolest is back to, right, no one's going to just trust you to just say, oh, the software said do this. But that's for so many things. That's what AI does. It just goes like, oh, here's the answer. So how did you guys get around this? Because like, I assume you can't just go to some investor and be like, yeah, I need 40 million. And the AI magic box over there says it's going to be good.
You need explainability. Like, let's look at, one persona that we serve, a geologist. A geologist, their entire job is interpretive work, right? They take subsurface data that they have access to, and they interpret what's happening there. And they make assumptions based on the data that inform these $1 million decisions potentially, right? Well, guess what? If you do interpretive work based on something you can't really see, you have to explain yourself in great detail. If someone agrees with you, you have to explain yourself. If someone doesn't agree with you, you also have to explain yourself and defend those decisions and those interpretations. So a geologist, their whole career is just defending themselves. Well, AI gives them the same thing. AI gives them an answer. And well, guess what? You have to give them the plan. How did you arrive at that answer? And so explainability is huge. And it's not just a tooltip or in a sidebar. The explainability has to be baked into the workflow.
What did that path look like to getting there and then figuring out this is going to be the most important thing to making people uptake this new way of doing things that can help them, be better at this?
Most B2B software looks like a 747 cockpit, in my opinion. And it's because of years of, hey, we need this and a customer is important and needs that. And so you end up with this huge thing with a bunch of buttons on it. And this was a clean opportunity for us to practice progressive disclosure, which is basically, hey, don't get rid of those things necessarily because people do need them, but hide them in a way that's intuitive for people that don't need that, right? Because not everybody needs the hardcore explanation and stuff. They just need the quick answer, and that's good enough for now. But, we found that a large cohort does need some of that background, the explainability. So the result was, in the chat at least, there was a couple things. So we have a team called Intelligence that writes a whole bunch of research that has broad and wide trust across our customer base. We were referencing, for a lot of questions, we do reference the research that's been written, right? That's gold data for us to have as sources. The interesting thing is when you pull that in and you write a summary that, pulls from a couple of those research reports, if you don't have the links back to them, trust is gone. Right? We have a place where you can say, yeah, I do want all of those links, and boom, here you go. You got them all. That's one area. The other one was, when you do the deep research, you see all the analysis happening and things like that, but it's being collapsed in the chat. We provide the plan that the AI has taken to get to the answer, you can copy it out and look at it. You can actually look at all the SQL statements that are being made on the back end. And so if you need that level of explainability, well, boom, here you go. Another way that we've done that is we actually link into, because the chat is related to the dashboarding area in the actual application. So you can say, yeah, make a dashboard out of this. You click a button, it opens up the dashboard. Now here's all your analytics based on your question. The issue with that, though, is before we had this interaction, we didn't have to think about how AI was going to change the dashboard, underneath you, right? And so we've kind of adopted this AI first user experience. It's kind of a philosophy, which is, if the AI is making those changes for you, you need to present those changes to the user when they open the dashboard. So the result for us was, instead of having our filter panel and a couple other, kind of key drivers for the whole application hidden, we actually do need those out in front of your face. And so when you hit the application, you see exactly what AI has done for you.
So, and that can be changes to, I guess, what are people tracking there, or like, what does those changes look like?
Yeah. So it could be, hey, instead of looking at the entirety of North America, I just want to look at Texas. And inside of Texas, I only want to look at a certain vintage of development. And inside, that vintage of development, I only want to look at this operator and that operator, because I'm doing a comparison between the two. And so AI can apply all of that, zoom into that geography for you. But if you're just dropped into it and you don't know what's been done, it's quite confusing and pretty jarring.
I think historically, one thing across product that we all looked at was there were multiple ways to kind of gauge engagement and are people using it well and things like that. And, one of those may have been, right, like they go and they edit analytics boards to, drill into the question they're asking. They, maybe go and read our research. It obviously makes sense to have the UX change with how you're presenting value. But I guess from your end on the product side and your team side, how are you showing to kind of, your managers and your leaders, hey, this is working and we're getting the behavior we want? Like, what does that look like on your end? How have you had to change on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing that we've implemented over the past, 2.5, maybe 3 years is a thing called product engagement score. So we can actually measure the specific value moments that a user crosses in their session. And we can use those to say, okay, in this cohort, the success looks like this, or the rate of success looks like this. A lot of that stuff is, the ultimate outcome. It's not, did I create a filter or did I use AI to make a dashboard or anything like that? It's more like, can we infer that you made an insight on that thing because you saved it? If I go through an AI workflow and I open up a dashboard and then I hit X, well, was that successful? Well, maybe for AI it was.
It did something successfully.
It did. Yeah. The thing worked, right? But did it work where the user actually got the value out of it? So we hang our hats on things that we can really infer that the user actually got the value that we think that they got. And, saving it or sharing that. Hey, if I save or share something, Jeff, and I share it with you, I probably did something worth sharing, right? And so that's how we're starting to measure success here. And so when we talk about adding AI to the mix, all we're doing is accelerating your time to success, right? It's not AI for AI's sake. It's AI for the user's sake, so they can get to success faster.
So were you guys already measuring like save as a success point or a share or something like that as a success point before? That's
absolutely.
I feel like you guys were more prescient on that than many.
Yeah. Like if I see a post on LinkedIn and I repost it, it probably needs something pretty deep to me to want to do that, and that might be the kind of North Star for my product team, right? All the things leading up to that, like scrolling X amount of scrolls or what, I'm not a B2C person. So all of those things are the funnel to that, right? And so we see if AI can open up a dashboard and make a dashboard for you really, really fast, that just widens the funnel for us to get you to that share, right? Or get you to the point where you're extracting the data that you actually need, or saving that thing so you can come back later. And so we're looking at how we can change the application in a way that drives a user behavior in a way that hits our outcome. And those are our outcomes.
What we do on our end is we do obviously session replay enabled by AI now. And the biggest thing is we have, agents that watch every session, tell you what's important. And it's interesting because one of the things we found back during, we have a lot of proprietary data that we've produced on our end to kind of make this better, right? And one of the really interesting, to me at least, early takeaways was that humans act like humans kind of across a lot of different verticals. But this is a great kind of instance of that again, where it's right, LinkedIn, it's, if you're sharing something, probably the same reason it's important if you're sharing something from Enverus is because you're putting your name on it, right? You're telling other people, I trust this
Yeah.
thing. And you are, using it as a saying, this is a valuable data point, says, Robert Henkhaus or Jeff Wharton. And so you're putting your name on it. And that's always been the thing, right? Like if you can that's why referrals back in the day were so important for like
There you go. Yeah.
any kind of, e-commerce stores. It's really interesting to see how that all comes together where human behavior at some level matters, whether you're, the most B2B I think you can almost possibly get or B2C like LinkedIn. I want to circle back real quick because you mentioned Akash really quickly. And I think this is a really interesting model that you guys have over there where Akash basically runs your like AI center of excellence. And so you have a bunch of these different product teams, and then you have Akash and his team kind of driving AI innovation. I guess what bred that model? And was it always like that? Or did you guys come to that through other means?
It wasn't always like that, but what we've seen is this model, this COE model, lets the experts stay experts and at the same time doesn't force every product manager to be an AI researcher. And if you do it right, which I think we're doing it right, it allows people like Akash and his team to develop some really out there stuff, bleeding edge type of things for our industry. And then I consume that, right? Hey, this is some proven tech. Let's go use it somewhere. And we go, okay, great. And that just helps us quite a bit. So I think we've got a really good thing going here that lets us act really small and agile and startup-y, but at the same time, reap those rewards and get that return on investment using the model like this.
If you look at like your team, then what is that kind of engagement with AI look like, both, I guess, at a application to product standpoint, but is anyone in your team kind of looking at fundamental research too? Or is it really circled around the kind of like center of excellence model there?
I'm a proponent for AI and getting deep with it. I think it's going to be part of our future. We're already seeing that, right? Because we have the COE model, I think we allow that team to explore a little further. For us, we absolutely bake some of that into the strategy that we've put together. Strategy to me is basically, in what way do you want to be successful? Well, how we want to be successful is with AI. We want to add that into those types of smarts into the application. And so the research isn't necessarily how DeepSeek is outperforming XYZ other model. It's not necessarily that, but more like, hey, from a UI UX standpoint, how might we change the UI so that AI feels more natural in the application? So it's more of that type of design-ish, if that's a word, research.
I've talked to teams across the board who can have all sorts of different models, everything from we only that one team thinks about it even until they design something and give it to us, to
Gotcha. Yeah.
Everyone does it. There's a couple people really, their entire job is thinking about innovation here. But then across the board, everyone's kind of thinking about it at lesser or more levels, depending on the project they're on and what they're doing. Because to really, I guess, probably best leverage like what a team like Akash is doing, you probably need some context on it outside of just what they tell you. But like, you also don't, like you said, you don't need to be like measuring DeepSeek against ChatGPT 5.2 to see which is.
No. we have people thinking about that, right?
Yeah.
And I think if we're going to be leaders in the space, we need it, but it's a happy medium when you look at the whole organization. Not everyone needs to be doing that. My job and my team's job is to take some of that awesome intelligence and turn that into repeatable product. And so we've kind of got our focus areas.
Right. Like at heart, this is like my soapbox on product. We're not here to build software, right? Like none of us are actually here to build software. That's not the goal. So far has been the best way we have found to deliver a lot of these solutions is via software, because it enables, a lot of different things and it compute and insights and understanding, and AI is another tool in that.
Absolutely. And I think that can be extended. This might be a bit of a hot take, but there's analytics everywhere, right? The bar charts and, pie charts, oh my gosh, maps, all of these types of things that help, those things exist because they help you derive insights. That's why there's a bar chart out there and a time series graph and all of those things, right? Now, if AI can skip that step and just give you the insight and somehow allow you to trust that thing, then guess what? We don't need the analytics anymore. Dashboarding might be going away. Now, that's maybe scary for some people, but like that could be a reality that we see soon. Then, of course, the trust piece of it is the big caveat there, because, that's why you have this analytics still now. So the role kind of for analytics, I think, in dashboarding changes a bit to a supporting character where AI is giving you the insight, but then saying, hey, look at this dashboard. This is how we arrived at the answer. Instead of, you don't have any of the AI and you have to come up with that stuff on your own. Kind of an interesting switch or change that I see coming.
It's kind of the same way, right? If you think about it, charts made it so you didn't have to just raw read, right? You have a graph, so you don't have to raw read a spreadsheet of 10,000 rows over time.
Yeah.
It just, now you can just look at a picture and go like, oh, it's going up. That's good.
Yeah, we're going to go through that same cycle again, but with AI being in there.
Right. No, I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's a pretty prescient, well put take. I like it. I'm here for it. All right. Now we can, maybe move on to something more. Maybe there are hot takes or more hot takes, because, all this is fine and good, but so you want to innovate, you want to go quickly. Enverus was recently acquired by Blackstone, right? A PE company.
That's right. Yeah. The PE company, maybe.
Yeah, definitely one of the top ones at the very least. Right. And there's a lot of people who will talk negatively about PE. I've had good experiences with the right companies, and some, like anything else, some do well, some are less good. But I think the one thing that's constant regardless is anytime you have uncertainty, it can breed slowing of work, slowing of innovation. And this is where people kind of at the top of teams, like in your role, kind of really, really, really matter on a day-to-day basis. Is how do you keep things going, and how do you kind of manage through that kind of change and keep confidence going, keep work going? Because the same way that you don't need an entire team thinking about AI 24/7, really most of the people don't need to think about the machinations of this event 24/7. It's not what's important. There's not much you can do about a lot of it in the second to second basis. How do you kind of keep people focused? How do you drive that energy during, it might be this, it might be other times of change as well, but how do you kind of manage a team through that?
It's a tough place to be, just to be, kind of candid about it. I've been through this a couple times now. And when these changeovers happen, I think teams, because of the uncertainty in the near-term future, what's going to happen in 6 months? Because of that, things start to shut down, decisions start to shut down. And it's not because the teams are lazy or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's just because we don't know if this decision is going to be right for us in 6 months, right? And so that makes it really tough to operate, especially if you've had a strategy for a while and now there's some strategic ambiguity, right? What I've found to be successful is to, instead of, thinking about what's going to happen in the next year or 2 years or even just 6 months, reduce the horizon. So I think the short horizon framing preserves a lot of the trust and preserves a lot of the flywheel motion that you've already had going. In practice, what that means is you focus on the known knowns, like what will be true in 60 days from now. Well, probably there's a bunch of customer truths that we've uncovered that will be true still. The constraints that we're operating on are probably the same. Maybe they've changed a little bit. The theories of how we're going to grow or retain or whatever, those things probably all stay the same. And so given all of that, what's the strategy for the next, literally just the 60-day window? And I think that if you frame that in the right way to a team, that inspires the flywheel continuing to move. And at the same time, gives your leadership or my leadership something to look at and go, okay, this is how the teams are thinking about the world today. And so you as the leader, or me in this case, you become the interface between the teams still practicing in the right ways and focused on, the 60-day goal and what those metrics are and things like that. And at the same time, using that same tool to communicate upwards and to say, hey, everything's okay. This is how we're operating. This is how we think about the world. These are the decisions we're making. Here's where we need to know. I've done that a couple times now where you establish this bit of an interface, and I've seen it once in the past go really, really well. And so now we're going through that again right now.
There's a couple reasons why you can get acquired, and they're very diverse. It can be everything from company was mismanaged and they're coming in because they think there's, high levels of efficiency to be gained. And in that case, like probably maybe you can say less of those things you cited are going to stay the same. And then in other cases, like the company's doing well, they see an opportunity to move even more or faster into a bigger market, in which case probably, they're acquiring partially because of what you're already doing, in which case like lean in and double down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, looking at Enverus progress, it seems like from a little outside knowledge on my part, it doesn't seem like you guys were doing badly. So it's probably not the first one there. So in that case, right, it's the worst thing you could do is actually slow down too much because of that uncertainty. So you want to, figure those things out. And hopefully you're getting some intel on at least some, like you said, the shorter term priorities, but it's, certain constants. Can you give us an example of some constants that you think, I guess, can be publicly stated?
We've been talking about basically this whole episode, which is the AI piece of things and the integration of AI into the user experience. That's not going to go away. Prism's not going to go away, which is the application we've been talking about. And, there's a high degree of alignment, I think, between what Enverus sees as the future and what Blackstone sees as the future for us. And so to your point, it's fuel to the fire kind of situation. Blackstone didn't buy us because they want to change the model. They like what they see, which is why they bought us, And so, yeah, I think AI, being baked into the UX in a really intuitive way, I think that does not change. There's some other things that I can mention around the enhanced collaboration inside of the application. So those are some signals that we've heard for a while and absolutely things that we need to execute on. So that doesn't change either, certainly not in the next 60 days. And so some of those things are kind of on the short-term roadmap and stuff that we're actively exploring.
The AI one, I'll be honest, was kind of the one I assumed was,
Yeah.
like no matter what you want to do, that's not going to change. So that's kind of a almost act of God at this point.
And it's not even just, hey, AI for AI's sake. It's like,
no, exactly.
The feedback we've gotten is incredible. People are making really big decisions using this as a tool.
Yeah.
Let's continue on that successful path. And so that's something that definitely is not going to change for us right now.
It seems like the acquisition was triggered because of success on Enverus' side. So with that in mind, because I've been through this, at a prior company, we were acquired. We were part of a larger group, but basically acquired the whole thing because one was very cash cowy and one was seen as a growth industry kind of piece. And it was interesting because what I saw was I knew that we wanted to keep going the path we were on. Like we wanted to double down because what we were doing was right. And that's why we were here now. But what you saw at kind of the slightly more junior level was maybe people not even worrying about their career, but feeling like they had to ask at every step, every decision. And that alone can create a lot of friction. And that can also change culture and then cause a lot of like longer term problems if you don't nip it. So how have you been addressing that of not just, I guess, the ability to people to feel like they can move quickly, but like they don't have to ask at every step and just the trust level of what we talked about yesterday is going to be today and tomorrow as well, kind of thing.
I think that the shorter time horizon helps aid in a lot of that. It's like, we're just making decisions for the next 60 days here. And you can reassess that every 30 days if you need to. And it happens. Absolutely, it happens. If you define some clear lines in that strategy, like, hey, here's the strategic intent and here's how we're going to measure that outcome, right? And anything that you need to do in this space is good. This is like fair game. You can make decisions here. You literally have conversations like that sometimes to make sure that people can still make decisions. One interesting thing I've seen, not recently here, but this can happen at any time, not just, when there's an acquisition coming, is when there's some type of strategic ambiguity or uncertainty, or we need to escalate a question to the executive team or something like that. That can often lead to a habit of that happening. Like, hey, it looks like the team needs help making these types of decisions. So we're going to lean in and help. And, it's not necessarily coming from a bad place. It's, I want to make sure the team is making the right decisions. Well, the executive leaning in can signal a bit of a trust alignment there, right? A lot of times when this stuff starts, that's the first thing that you see is decisions that should be made at the product manager level are being escalated up a level or two, and that turns into a bit of a slowdown. That is your first tell that some of the empowerment is eroding a little bit.
It seems like a very interesting time over there between the rise of being able to use AI to kind of fuel these multi-million, multi-10 million dollar insights, and then at the same time, having a company as big and ubiquitous as Blackstone coming in and kind of having this kind of change going. There's a lot to be managing over there, both up and down. And I think, unfortunately, with that in mind, I can't keep you here all day. I really appreciate you coming on, Robert. This is really insightful. I appreciate the time. If people want to reach out and learn a little bit more about how you guys are looking at this kind of like white box, clear box strategy of AI, is LinkedIn a good place to reach? Or is there something else? Or
LinkedIn is perfect. LinkedIn
Awesome.
is perfect. And Jeff,
Yeah.
thanks so much for the time. This has been incredible. And I really enjoy the podcast. So I was a listener, or I am a listener. And so, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity for jumping on. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Glad to hear that. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. Best of luck. Continue with Prism. And yeah, hopefully talk again soon, man.
All right. Thanks, Jeff.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.